Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me for another episode. Going to dive in today on the next card that was part of what was arguably my most epic card flip in all my time collecting. So I've talked about this a couple times before, so I won't go into a ton of detail on the backstory here. You can check out some previous episodes if you want to see, but long story short, picked up a card of Kylian Mbappe, a soccer card. It was obviously not this card, but it was a very rare Mbappe rookie card. And it was a base card, but from a high-end set. And got it on eBay a few years back now for $5. And I knew at the time it was a steal, but long story short, a couple of years after I bought it, the soccer market exploded. Mbappe is, arguably the most popular young player in the world, or one of them. Card just skyrocketed in value, and I sold that $5 card for, many times what I paid for it, more than 100 times what I paid for it, by a good margin, and used the proceeds from that flip to pick up 5 key vintage cards for my collection, or I guess 4 of the 5 are vintage anyway. And so I've been kind of walking through those. So with that one $5 Mbappe card, flipped it, sold it, and used the proceeds. I got this 68 mantle, which was necessary for my playing era run that I'm working on of the Mick. And then in my last installment in this series, I showed the 56 Willie Mays. I'm also working on a player era run of Mays. So knocked out a couple of cards there, maybe not the most key cards for either player, but a couple of pretty significant ones in nice PSA slabs that would have cost me a pretty penny had I not been doing the flip. So the third card that I have, I got 5 in total. And the third one that I have is the lone hockey card in the bunch. And it's also the lone card that, depending on your definition, may or may not qualify as vintage. I tend to think of vintage as like 1980 and earlier in my own personal definition. So this is not a vintage card, I would say, but wanted to get one hockey card out of the flip, and was thinking at the time, obviously, as you can tell by my first couple of picks here, I was really trying to get rid of a card of a guy who maybe could be a GOAT, but certainly isn't yet because he's too young. And in return, I was trying to focus on getting some cards of guys who are already established GOATs, like your Mazes and Mantles of the world. So in the hockey, realm, or on the hockey side of the house, I was thinking to myself, what's a big key rookie card that I am missing, that I could get for, around 1/5 of, the funds that I got back in this flip, and very quickly settled on this one. So this is, of course, the Mario Lemieux rookie card. This is the O-Pee-Chee version, which is why this was a big pickup for me. I've talked about this before, but I tend to gravitate towards Topps hockey and only fill in O-Pee-Chee when it's, a case where the player wasn't in the top set, or, I just happen upon a really good deal. But Mario Lemieux is one of my favorite players, one of the best players in the last, 100 years in the history of the sport, really. You do have to wonder if health had been more on his side and he hadn't missed so much time, where he would stand among the all-time greats statistically. But, 2-time Stanley Cup champion and widely regarded as the best player not named Gretzky in the league in the late 80s and early 90s and later in his career. And an absolutely iconic hockey card. I chose this one in a PSA 6 because it was within my price range, which at the time for this card was well under $200, believe it or not. And I spent a lot of time looking at Lemieux rookies when I decided to pursue this one. And this was one that, for its grade, for its assigned grade, I thought had incredible centering, really good registration and focus on the image. It's a clean card front, no creases, lines, any issues of note. I think the only reason this got the lowly score of PSA 6 is probably on the back. Again, well-centered, but there is and this is very common with O-Pee-Chee, more so than Topps, there's some edge wear that you can see along this left border of the the back and the corner a little bit here, and a little bit of white on this corner as well. And, maybe even, to be fair, all four corners may have a slight hint of white on the back. But it really, to me, it's all about the card front. And honestly, that back doesn't even look that bad, but the front looks really, really good. Centering can be a problem with these. It's not necessarily a notoriously difficult set on centering, but there are a lot of examples out there when I was looking, including examples that were a higher grade than this PSA 6 that had worse centering or a really noticeable, corner issue or just other things that really detracted from the overall beauty of the card, in my opinion. And with this example, I was just pumped. Unless you look really closely, I mean, you could cover up this flip and show this to somebody, and I would guess that they would probably think this was, a PSA 7 or 7.5. But as I've said many times in the history of the channel, I don't care about the number on the flip. I used to, maybe in my very early days of returning to collecting as an adult, but I've long since progressed beyond worrying about the number that's on the flip, and I focus on the card because that's what it's about, after all, at the end of the day. So there it is, my third pickup from my best flip that I have ever orchestrated. And I mentioned it before, but given that a $5 card was flipped and bought 5 slabs with the proceeds, you could effectively break it down as though each one of the 3 cards that you see in front of you and the 2 that I have still yet to come in this series effectively cost me $1 each. So very, very happy. Like I said, I've been collecting many years, and I think this is my greatest, arguably, success story in terms of flipping a card. And so there it is, my Mario Lemieux O-Pee-Chee rookie, very key, iconic rookie card of the 80s on the hockey side of the house, and one that I am very grateful to own and very happy that I was able to flip a very cheap card into that slab as well as 2 others. So obviously picked up 5 of these, so I have 2 more to come in a future installment. And in my opinion, I'm kind of doing these from, although it's hard to really decide this, I'm going from least favorite to most favorite. So the 2 that I have to come are 2 cards that I think are as good or better than the 3 that you see in front of you here. But that is for another day and another episode. We're going to wrap this one up for now. I really appreciate you joining me. I hope you're enjoying a look at some of these slabs in my sports card collection, and I will certainly be back in the near future with some more content. Until then, take care.